What's up, everybody? It is Sunday, which means it's a mailbag, mailbox, mail something. I don't know. It's me answering your guys' questions. We've got a bunch of them. You guys actually poured in a bunch of different questions, so I'm probably going to go through these pretty rapid fire. But yeah, there's a plethora of questions that you guys left on the previous video and some of the other ones, and I'm going to try to get through these as much as possible in a timely fashion. And some of them are all over the place. Some of them are personal. Some of them are just good questions in general about Rocket League. Some of them are about me. So with that said, obviously thumbs up if you enjoy the content, subscribe, notifications, and always leave those comments down below for next week's video when we do this all over again. But with that said, let's get into the video. What's up, everybody? We're going to get right into the questions. And again, as a reminder, if you would like me to answer some of your questions, make sure you leave them down in the comments below of this video. I will do my best next week to get to those. So with that said, first question comes from Wes Mitchell, and it says, is there ever anything RO related or not that you wish you had more time to talk about, but can't for whatever reason? Thanks for your all's hard work getting out the content. Take care of yourself. Yeah, appreciate it, Mitchell. Thank you for the kind words as well as the appreciation of the content. Glad we can do these videos, kind of give back. The big thing is, obviously, I have a lot of passions outside of Rocket League. There's a lot of things that I enjoy, and that's kind of the nice thing about live streaming is live streaming, I'm able to really do that. Right now, like Rocket League content and YouTube is very focused in. It's very like, yo, this stuff has to be done. And it's not that it's a chore. It's just, it's what gets views. And it's hard to do that. I can't make the content I want to make. One, because just nobody watches it and everything else. But my live stream is kind of turning into me just doing what I want. We put a lot of emphasis, like for those that know me, I have a large emphasis on like music, love music, primarily metal. I used to be a vocalist for a metal band when I was younger. We were never any good. So no, you guys don't need to hear it. Maybe if you come over to the live stream, twitch.tv/LAWL, I'll play you some. But yeah, I used to be a vocalist for a metal band. So we talk a lot about music on stream. Love anime as well. But that's kind of the nice thing is Twitch is used more so as an outlet for me. So you get to see more me on a regular or like kind of my actual personality rather than like this is the news and like suit and tie and stuff. So yeah, I think it's pretty good. But I've been spending a lot of time and effort on like mental life. Something I don't really tell you guys about is I used to do a bunch of like motivational speaking to public schools and stuff in the area. And that's kind of been put on a halt just because of the pandemic. And you can still do them over like Zoom and stuff. And it's just not the same. So I do miss motivational speeches because I just never had that public figure or that person that was willing to tell me like it was like, hey man, school sucks and that's life. And yes, you want to do these things, but your parents tell you no, but they're paying for this kind of stuff. I wish I had someone that would have just treated me like an adult when I was a kid. So it's been nice when I do those kind of conversations to be able to just be straightforward and treat the kids not like they're kids because it allows them to open up a little bit more. So I do miss that quite a bit. It's not something that I really talk about. It's just something that I do in my free time when I have it. And I can't wait for the pandemic to go away and COVID to go away so I can get back to it. Good question, man. Second question comes from Travis Masal. Says, have you ever considered doing player power rankings, like highlighting who is playing well, like first killers, second half of winter, or even just talking about the players who played well at a regional, not including team performance? There is actually a very specific reason why I don't. I'm a firm believer that now more than ever, the team is more important than just one individual figure. I've talked numerous times about how I do agree there's high impact players. There is people that really stand out in this game. You talk about the first killers, the Justins, Monkey Moon, whatever. And I think those players already get so much love about like, yo, these guys are really, really good. But I'm a firm believer that now more than ever, Rocket League is about being a good team. Every single player is so important to the team to be successful that pointing out just one player, I don't really like it. You already see players give love and praise to the high flashy players, but the support players, the guys that are the backbone of the team, don't get the love they deserve. If you guys didn't watch that video about Freaky's tweet about a chronic, go check out that video as well. It should be probably listed somewhere below most likely, but I talk about it a little bit there. But there's actually a pretty big reason why I don't do like tier lists or power rankings for individual players. I personally feel that you need a good team, not a good player. You can have players that you can build teams around. You can have players that are absolutely cracked, but without their teammates supporting them and backing them up, they're just as useless as the rest of us. So There's a big reason why I actually don't do that. DJ Fisher asks, if community figures like yourself or some collection of orgs set up their own LAN event, what do you think Psyonix Epic Games' response would be? That's pretty tough because Psyonix and Epic Games have always kind of put a clamp on what the community is technically allowed to do for prize pools and everything else. They don't want anything ever overshadowing the RLCS. That's why like community tournaments have to be a certain amount, but you can get approval to do more. If anything, if you were to coordinate something like that, myself in particular, if I was to be like, hey, orgs and everybody else, let's come together. Let's make a big event. Let's do it in person. I'm going to ask Psyonix immediately. I'll be like, hey, Psyonix, like, I'm planning to do this thing. I want your involvement. I want your servers for LAN build. I want your funding. It'd be very silly not to do it. And I don't think they would ever make it the official replacement for the World Championships. Just because it's an RLCS sanctioned event, they're going to want to do it themselves. But I do think that they would allow like a secondary international event if someone else was to put it on. I've had conversations with other people in pretty high power about doing that. But the difficulty is just coordinating it, and you still deal with all the limitations that Psyonix is dealing with right now. So I don't think they would ever turn it into the official World Championships, but anybody who would be setting that up is most likely going to be going out of their way to work with Psyonix to make that stuff happen. Push 4 comes from Brown. Says, what do you think about gaming laptops for Rocket League, or do you recommend I get a mid-range tower, better monitor? Upgrading from PS4, so looking for some tips. It depends on what your uses are, man. I am a very big techie. My recommendation, as always, is going to be through Omen. I'm sponsored by Omen. Hashtag ad if you would like a link down below. 5% off, as I am part of Omen and their sponsorship team. But depending on what your uses are is going to vary. The benefit, obviously, of a laptop is you are spending a little bit more money because it's all compacted into a tiny device. But it is portable. You can take it with you. I know some people who go over the top and buy a really good gaming laptop and then bring and lug around a keyboard, mouse, and monitor instead when they use it. That's for some people. I'm going to be a firm believer that you can't really beat out a desktop PC with a good monitor, especially for Rocket League now that the FPS is uncapped. Being able to push Rocket League with a very CPU intensive game that it is, you definitely want a little bit of a beefier PC. And the benefit of getting with a desktop is even though you may cheap out a little bit earlier, you can always upgrade and adapt over time. And that's kind of the nice thing is get a good tower, give yourself some space, and slowly upgrade the parts. You know, maybe cheap out a little bit, get a really nice GPU, but then be a little bit cheaper on the RAM. Go with the bare minimum, but then as time progresses and you get a little bit more money, slowly upgrade it over time. I mean, it's a never-ending process with PC gaming. So I personally will always recommend a mid-range tower and a nice monitor myself, but it all depends on what your budget is. Sith Killer asks, what do you think is stopping V1 from being a top 1 to 4 team in North America? I do think it's a little bit of an older playstyle and mentality with some of the players, even though they are making changes and being able to adapt. The other side of it too is inconsistency. Sometimes they're red hot and sometimes they can go toe-to-toe against some of the best teams in the world. But then other times they falter and they play down to their competition. A lot of it's inconsistency in playing their game. We've seen the exact same thing where throughout the beginning of the spring split, they're dominant. They look absolutely crazy, like top 6 without a doubt. And then they fall off super hard and are losing to teams they never should. Going to game 5 against La Familia. But then you look at the regionals that just went down yesterday and they're 3-1 in their group with a plus like 11 game differential. They're going to game 5 against Rogue, which they also got reverse swept in. A lot of it is just inconsistency, man. Part of the reason why NRG is at the top, and this is the best comparison I can make for you, NRG may have a playstyle that is not the fast, aggressive, chasey, pressure-heavy style that is something like Space Station, but Space Station playing at that level is very difficult. The expectation and the difficulty for a player to play that clean all the time is unrealistic. And that's why you look at a team like NRG that is at the top of the leaderboard with the most points, has a playstyle where they're not as reliant on that. So if a player isn't popping off like crazy that day, they still put up a really good performance. So they are built on consistency. And even though their skill ceiling isn't as high with their playstyle, you look at a team like Space Station where their skill ceiling is really high, but their base level is maybe a little bit lower. And that's kind of the challenge you're taking is with a team like Version 1, they do have a lot of potential. They're a very good team, but right now it feels like their skill ceiling can be very high, but their base level, depending on what they're bringing to the table, has some struggles. So it's a balance of both, but the easiest thing is just they lack consistency sometimes. It's tough. Right now, Rocket League is more brutal than it's ever been. Last, and I kind of felt obligated to answer Brady's question because he ended up asking too. This is from Brady right out. He says, this may seem like personal, but I figured I'd ask, is YouTube your main source of income, or is it a mixture? Just curious on how you make a living in this online world. So for those that don't know, a little bit of history, obviously 2020, the very beginning, used to be an RLCS commentator, no longer RLCS commentator. Gotta fend for myself. I'm a firm believer of not putting all your eggs in one basket. It is good to diversify. It is good to network and build relationships because you never know what happens. Case in point, casting the RLCS for 5 years, no more. Because of that, I'm very lucky that I've built a lot of relationships in my career, throughout my career. And the fact that I was able to find a niche in Rocket League, something that I think that I have a lot of perspective on that others do not, also helps that I have no competition doing it. But you guys watch the videos, which does help. Primarily, my main source of income is as a commentator. I still commentate esports full time, whether it be Rocket League, Apex Legends, or various others. I do cover a lot of different games and a lot of one-off events. When conventions and stuff are going and the pandemic is an issue, going over to like PAX East and West and doing MC hostings and whatever it is. I'm lucky that I have an agency that backs me. Shout outs to Character Select Agency. Love what they do for me. But they find me events and I, find events for myself and have them negotiate on my behalf. But casting is still my primary profession. It's what pays most of my bills. It's what takes care of me and keeps me afloat. YouTube and Twitch, twitch.tv/LAWL, as you guys have seen in the description, and YouTube are other things that supplement that. And then I take obviously additional income and invest it in other projects and stocks and all that kind of stuff. I try not to keep all my eggs in one basket because as you guys know, the online world is so volatile. There's always something bigger, better, and whatever coming out next that can kind of overwhelm you. So I try to innovate and stay ahead of the curve as much as possible. Obviously, the next thing on my kind of bucket list or checklist is the TV show that I'm going to be hosting. I can't wait for that contract to finalize because then I tell you guys about who it's with and what it is. But yeah, man, YouTube is not my main source of income. It does help, and I do greatly appreciate you all being here and watching the videos and interacting with them, whether it be thumbs up or thumbs down or commenting or anything like that. It does go a long way and it does help. It's actually very nice that despite losing a massive chunk of my income from no longer being in the RLCS twice a year, I'm still able to do this as a living, which I can't thank you guys enough. My true motivations in life are making sure I never go back to a 9-to-5 retail job, and you guys allow me to do that. So I greatly thank you. And part of the reason why I'm doing these videos on Sundays, even though on Sunday I don't really get a ton of views for these videos, it is my way to give back to you guys. So I do greatly appreciate it. But that is going to do it for this video. I do appreciate you guys all coming and taking the time. If you guys would like to have some of your questions possibly answered next week, make sure you drop those in the comments down below. I will also make sure to go back to previous weeks if there's some other ones that I kind of really like but didn't get the time to get to. I just don't want these videos to be 50 minutes long, otherwise it would take forever. So you guys dropped a lot of comments, which I do appreciate. But again, if you would like to have your questions answered, feel free to drop them down below. If I didn't answer your question, feel free to re-comment on this video and maybe I'll get to it this time around. But if you see other comments down below that you do enjoy, make sure you guys give those a thumbs up because those do push to the top of the list. And if you guys have ones that you really like that you wish were asked and answered, the ones at the top are usually the easiest way to do it. So that is going to wrap it up for this video. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, as always, drop them down below as well with your own questions. Give the video a thumbs up if you like it. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. And we'll see you tomorrow for a recap video of NA Regional 3. Peace.